You know, the Lord of the Rings movies could have included so many more diegetic songs, and I'm a little disappointed that they didn't. The Lord of the Rings movies have a stunningly beautiful soundtrack. I'm definitely not trying to argue that they don't. I don't think anyone would argue that they don't. But I'm still disappointed in the musical and poetic landscape found within the actual story the movies tell. In the book, The Fellowship of the Ring, we have something like 26 instances of a character singing, 34 if we're going to count spoken rhyme, and that's just the stuff that actually got written out in the book. Okay, so if I want to be completely fair, I probably have to cut the whole Old Forest, Tom Bombadil, and Barrow Downs section, because that wasn't in the movies, so there's no way any songs from there could have made it in. Which brings us down from 24 to something more like 23, because good fucking lord, Tom Bombadil never stops singing. And I guess we'll cut the ones from the house at Crick Hollow, because that's also not in the film. Still, that's 13 songs and 8 spoken poems, 2 of which directly affect the plot in some way. At least 8, maybe 9 others are connected to important or emotional character moments, and the rest all either set the tone of the scene, reflect the mood of the characters, or have significant lore and world-building elements to them. In the movie, and mind you, I'm going to be using the extended edition because that's the only one I've ever seen, we have the vague sound of Gandalf humming Roads Go Ever On as he drives towards Hobbiton, Bilbo doing the same as he walks away into the night, Merry and Pippin singing and dancing on the table in The Green Dragon, which I love, it's fucking great, and it kind of covers 2 songs that they cut from the movie, so that's cool too. The Elven Hymn to Elbereth, sung by Gildor's party of elves as they pass towards the Grey Havens, the vague sound of Aragorn quietly singing what he says is part of the Lay of Leithian, while the hobbits sleep, the lament for Gandalf and Sam's spoken rhyme about his fireworks. Thank fucking god they kept that in at least, but I would like to point out that Sam's verse was prompted by Frodo composing an entire poem about Gandalf in the book. That's right, our boy's a poet! Both of them! In the Two Towers, we have 16 poems altogether, 10 of which are spoken rhyme, so already we see a drastic downtick in the amount of singing that's going on. In the movie, we have Gollum paying homage to the Barrow-wights incantation with his muttered rhyme while he's trying to block out Frodo's words. Weirdly enough, despite Bregolad being cut as a character, we do get a snippet of his song being recited by Treebeard, so go figure. We do get a bit of The Ent and the Entwife, sung by Treebeard, but he claims it's his own composition, which is just incorrect. The Ents didn't write any songs about their search for the Entwives, preferring instead to sing the names of their lost loved ones as they wander. As a side note, we get a lot of little nods to Tom Bombadil through Treebeard's character in the movie. His line,
"Sleep, little childlings, heed no nightly noise. Sleep till morning light,"
is almost word for word lifted from Tom, as well as the later incident with the tree. Then we have Gollum's song at the Forbidden Pool, Eowyn's song at Theodred's funeral, Theoden reciting the Lament for the Rohirrim, set over visuals of these old men and young boys of Rohan getting ready to defend Helm's Deep. That one was fucking good. I would not change that for the world. They did a good job with that. And finally, a version of Arise, Arise, Riders of Theoden, called by Theoden before the last charge of the Siege of Helm's Deep. Again, I would not change this. This was good. Really, all the poetry and singing stuff they did in Rohan was good. I liked all of that. In Return of the King, we actually have even fewer songs and poems than in the previous 2 books. We even have some songs that show up in the text but aren't sung or spoken in the story. We're just told that this song was composed as a result of this or that legendary battle or deed. which makes sense given that for a lot of it we're in the most dire part of the story. There's not much time for merriment or song, there's a fucking war on, which continues the theme from the previous books of the darker things get, the less singing there is. But counting now only the songs actually sung and poems actually recited by characters in the story, we come out to 10. That's not a lot. And how did the movie fare? Well, we have Merry and Pippin singing and dancing on the table in Meduseld. I really like this, it's a good respite and harkens back to the first movie. Arwen reciting part of the Riddle of Strider while things are set in motion to reforge Narsil. Honestly, I have mixed feelings about this because it's a good scene, but I still don't like the direction the movies went with Aragorn. Pippin's rendition of a walking song, aka Edge of Night, obviously, that is fucking iconic for all that it was not in the books. That was good. Legolas reciting part of the Words of the Seer as he, Gimli, and Aragorn make their way through the Dim Holt. I will gloss over the cutting of the Grey Company from the plot in favor of just saying that at least they kept it, so that part is good. Gollum singing that taunting little tune when Frodo is caught by Shelob. Theoden's speech before the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, technically. And Aragorn's song at his coronation. And that's it. That's all the songs and poems in the movies. So we're missing like 16 poems from Fellowship, 17 if we want to be nitpicky and say that the Lay of Leithian doesn't count to cover the Song of Beren and Luthien, because they're not the same poem. Actually, we're kind of missing 18 because of the Lament for Boromir. Like, fair enough, it's not in the book either, but that's because Boromir's funeral by boat doesn't happen until the first chapter of The Two Towers. Honestly, I will never forgive them for not even attempting to include that. But then again, I don't understand Tolkien's decision to have a lament in 3 parts, sung by Aragorn, then Legolas, then Aragorn again, when Gimli is right there, so I guess we all make questionable decisions. And that's, 10 poems missing from Two Towers? 9 if we want to say that because Bregalad is missing, they technically only needed 15, even though they included Bregalad's song anyway. But granted, in this book there aren't many really super important poems. Discounting the messages from Galadriel, there's maybe 2 that I feel are absolutely crucial, and 1 technically made it into the movie, but the impact of it was lessened by how the movies are structured. And oddly enough, in Return of the King, we're only missing 3, but despite being the movie that gets the closest to the correct number of songs and verses, it's also somehow the one that fumbles the worst of the lot. Go figure. Anyway, let's get into the thick of it. First off, I am not suggesting that every song and poem in the books should have been included in its entirety in the movies. That would only have slowed things down and made things worse. What I am suggesting is a more Hobbit-like approach. There's something no one ever thought they'd hear me say, I'm sure. But no, I stand by it. What they did with the songs in those movies was good, even though they still managed to bungle Rivendell, and we're still missing plenty of the songs, but it's a damn sight better than The Lord of the Rings, in this one aspect. In LotR, we get not a single piece of diegetic music anywhere in Rivendell. In The Hobbit, we get all this mournful harping and airy noises. I mean, they kind of wrote themselves into a corner with the LotR movies, because after they made the elves in those such absolute paragons of wisdom and virtue, I'll admit it would have been a little hard to believably pull off the elves of Rivendell mocking the company of Thorin Oakenshield in song form as they walk into the valley. Would have been entertaining to see them try, though. We could have had something similar to Bofur singing in Rivendell, with Frodo at the Prancing Pony. Heck, it's even the right song. That's why they put it in The Hobbit in the first place. But no, Peter Jackson wanted to do this shit to Bree for some fucking reason. In the books, Bree was a respite. They were relieved to be there, happy to finally reach it after the trials that they had been through with the Nazgul and the Old Forest and the Barrow Downs. Bree was a town of men and hobbits. Anyone watching the movie, without any knowledge of the books, would not be faulted for thinking it was all just men. It was a little strange, but there was familiarity and comfort and friendly people there. The trio that went into the common room of the Prancing Pony, Frodo, Sam, and Pippin, were relaxed, they were letting loose. That's the entire reason Pippin was getting comfortable enough to start talking about things he shouldn't have been talking about, and the entire reason Frodo accidentally slipped the ring on his finger. In the book, to distract from Pippin's talk, he decided to get up on a table and dance and sing, but once he'd completed the number, he felt so confident and relaxed that he started it up again with a little too much vigor, and when he jumped, the ring, which he had been unconsciously toying with in his pocket, slipped onto his finger, which, if you ask me, makes a whole lot more sense than "I tripped and it fell on my finger." Oh my god, when I say it like that, it legit sounds like a meme, but that's actually what happened! I'm gonna fucking cry, holy shit, that's amazing! Anyway, the books actually do something completely brilliant with the poetry, especially in the Two Towers, that the movies completely lose out on because they failed to establish just how musical of a place Middle-earth is. In Book 4, the second part of the Two Towers, the one that follows Frodo and Sam's journey from the Emin Muil all the way to Cirith Ungol, while, yes, Sam recites that one spoken poem about the Oliphant, the only character who actually sings is Gollum. And that is so fucking brilliant, and the movies completely miss out on it, partially because they structured the story differently, so the effect wouldn't have been as powerful anyway, because we would have been cutting back and forth between the three hunters, Merry and Pippin, and Sam and Frodo, so we wouldn't actually have gotten that long stretch where no one sings at all. But still, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't even get a semblance of this translated onto film, where it would definitely have made more of an impact than it does on paper. I mean, it's brilliant in the books, but there really is a very clear difference between reading it and hearing it. The other song in the Two Towers I feel is essential is the Ents marching song, and the movie bungled the whole Entmoot so badly that I'm honestly not surprised they didn't even make an attempt to include it. And now, backing up a bit, remember how I said only one character ever sings in Book 4? That is accurate, but there's another step to this, and again here the movies have stumbled. There is only one song ever sung in Mordor, and it's not a jeer coming from Gollum crowing in hasty delight over his victory. It's Sam. Sam in the Tower of Cirith Ungol, when he is unable to find Frodo, in his panic, begins to sing a song written by Bilbo Baggins. The only song ever sung in Mordor is not a taunt sung in a harsh voice. It is a song written in the Shire about hope in the darkness and the sun and the stars. And that is goddamn brilliant, and I will fight people who say otherwise. And the other place in which the movies stumbled? There is far too little singing after the ring is destroyed. Cheering and celebration, yes, but far too little singing. We only get this kind of somber song by Aragorn after he gets crowned. That's the final diegetic song in the movies. It's not a bad song, it's pleasant enough to listen to, but do you know what it fucking isn't? The thematic gut punch that the final song of the books was. You wanna know what was the last song in the books? A reprise of a walking song. The song that Frodo, Sam, and Pippin sang while walking in the woody end in the Shire at the very start of their journey is softly reprised by Frodo as they ride to the Grey Havens. First rule of all musicals, any song with reprise in the title can and will make you cry. Didn't fucking think that could work for books as well, but here we fucking are. God! But, of course, the movies couldn't have done this because they cut a walking song from Fellowship and gave it to Pippin to sing to Denethor, as Faramir charged to his almost death. Which is still a brilliant scene, and I'm glad they did that. You know what they should have done, though? Something which would have put them a step above what the books did? Made the last diegetic song in Return of the King a reprise of Roads Go Ever On. It's the first song we hear in Fellowship as Gandalf slowly drives into Hobbiton for Bilbo and Frodo's birthday. Can you imagine if it was the last as well? If Frodo had sung that softly in the wagon while Bilbo slept against his shoulder as they drive out of Hobbiton for what is truly the final time. Just imagine that for a second. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you stick around.